When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the weekend for Memorial Day weekend. We'll be looking at Churchill Downs and Belmont at the Big A mainly, and then talk about what else will have our attention this weekend. So let's just jump right in, James. I'll start with you. What is your best bet of the week?
My best bet's going to come at Churchill Downs Saturday in race 7. It's number 5, Stable Currency. This is a entry-level allowance optional claimer for 3-year-old fillies going 6 furlongs. And number 5, Stable Currency, is a filly that, she was actually put in a stakes race, the Untappable Stakes, over the winter in December at Fairgrounds, after a couple good allowance placings. Ran 4th that day. Chris Block, a couple starts later, put her into under the $100,000 tag. She wasn't eligible for the entry level conditions, and she reeled off 2 real sharp wins at Fairgrounds, winning comfortably both times rallying. She sat close, Stable Currency did, and powered Clear Late to win going away. Off of those 2 encouraging efforts, she took a huge step up in class last time at Churchill Downs on the Kentucky Oaks undercard in a deep 6.5 furlong allowance. The winner of that race, Beauty Reigns. I think she's going to be a nice filly for Belmont, and the runner-up as well, a nice filly for Steve Asmussen. I think they'll both be running in stakes this season. And I just think Stable Currency rallied that day to be a good third. I think she'll improve upon that effort, and I think she's going to get the setup. I mean, this is a race that has some speed signed on. Moto, Lady Catherine, and there is a dangerous rival in Unwavering Trust. She's going to be a prohibitive favorite. She's 5-2. She comes off an odds-on win, near 3-length win at Keeneland. I expect her to be less than 2-1 at post time, maybe even odds-on. Listen, she could be the goods and a real promising filly, but both of her speed numbers are in the 80s. She's taking running against a rival that has run faster than her and is way more seasoned than she is. And I think Stable Currency will get the job done in race 7 on Saturday.
Yeah, I love the pick personally. I mean, this horse was a winner over Moto 2 starts back, and Moto is a serious win contender by all accounts in this particular spot. And love the workout on May the 17th at Hawthorne in preparation for it. There's early speed signed on. She should be in a first flight of stalkers. This race is a really, really strong entry-level allowance. We have a filly coming back after giving her the winter off, and this was one of 2 spots that we were looking at. We had decided to enter in a turf race on Thursday instead, and after looking at this field, I was very, very thankful that that's where we went.
I don't have anything else to add there. I think it's a great value play right here, and like you said, going to set off the pace. I think it's a good potential setup for Stable Currency, so I like it at 5-1. Darin, what about you?
Yeah, I went into my own backyard this weekend at Belmont at Aqueduct. They got a nice card on Saturday, and it includes race number 10. It's the Paradise Creek, 6 furlongs on the outer turf course for $150,000. I really like Warheart here, who's coming off of a 5th place finish in the William Walker at Churchill Downs Kentucky Derby week, which was a race, and you're going to get a look at him here. He's number 9. That's him getting bumped around a little bit there in and behind horses where he had to kind of alter course a little bit. It seemed to knock him a little bit off stride, and the horses to the outside got a little bit more momentum than him in this spot, and he's just going to kind of run on evenly from this point to the wire. But that was his first race back since January, and I think he probably got a lot out of that. I'm going to look for him to improve in his second race back off the layoff. If you take a look through his form in his career, his race going a mile and a 16th in the Grade 2 Bourbon, where he caught traffic, was not good. His race over the Synthetic was not good. His other races when sprinting on the turf are all good, including the most recent performance. And I think in this spot, he's a little bit sneaky as a horse for Rudy Brissett, who's got really good numbers, a plus 37% ROI and 22% winners making their second race back off the layoff. There's a little bit of speed signed on. He should be in a good spot here, tracking from the outside. I love the fact that he attracts Manny Franco. I think there's a lot of positives here for a horse that's 6-1 in the morning line.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
really, you can go ahead.
go ahead,
James.
Ashley.
I was just gonna say the 3 starts back at Belmont at Aqueduct looked really good, and I also wanted to mention Clock Tower. That was a horse I really liked at Pimlico last weekend, and then opted for this race instead, which I was a little surprised about because a lot of early speed to compete with, and I thought Clock Tower had a chance to just have an easy lead in that race at Pimlico. I think it was the James W. Murphy, and so I was a little surprised Wesley Ward went with this instead. But I like your pick, Darin Warhart, who's going to sit off the pace with all of those front runners in the field.
Yeah, I agree also. And the fact that he ran so well at 6 furlongs, that's always one thing I look for. There's a big difference. People underestimate it between one at his main rival, 1 at 5 furlongs. This will be his first try going 6. So, I like the fact that he has that strong effort at the distance over the course.
I will take it over to Churchill for my best bet. It's in race 4 on Saturday, a 6 furlong claimer for fillies and mares. And I'm going with number 1, Demi at 6-1, a 5-year-old mare who won first start off the claim for Phil Diamato last out, and a claimer at Oaklawn for non-winners of 3. Actually broke a step slow in this race and then was able to gain position, split rivals, and then kind of ran clear at the end here that we're about to watch. And now has a chance actually getting a little bit of class relief here, picking up Christian Torres, who's a 15% winner at Churchill this meet, and at the distance of 6 furlongs, 3 for 5 with a 3rd place finish as well. Could improve second off the layoff here, and had an 83 Brisnet speed figure last out, a 90 late pace rating. Looking at the rest of the field, I just think she stacks up a little bit better than the rest. So I like her, especially at the price of 6-1. We'll play Demi in race 4 on Saturday.
Yeah, you're definitely getting. Go ahead, Darin.
No. Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
I was going to say you're definitely getting the value. I can't fault you at all for the 6-1. I do think our main rival is on the far outside in number 9 off ramp, but she's going to be the probable favorite. I think she could be shorter than the 2 horse These Apples. So I can't fault you at all for that pick.
Yeah, my 2 points of concern with her are D'Amato claimed the horse for 50 and then obviously was off for a year plus, which is never what you want to do with a horse that you just claimed. She did come back and win, but she came back for 35 and won, and now they drop her down to 25. So it seems to me like the connections are probably trying to get rid of her for whatever that was that caused that 1 year gap. And then my other concern from a tactical standpoint is I don't think there's a ton of early speed in this race to set things up really well for her. I think Never Sway is probably the quickest of the quick in here. Greek Heiress can be forward in the right circumstance, and Sassy and Bold sometimes has speed, but it's pretty cheap speed at the $5,000 level. So my only concern is, in addition to the layoff and what I mentioned before, is she going to get an honest enough setup? But she'll hopefully work out a nice ground-saving trip, swing out in the stretch, and hopefully she's got a good pace to run into.
All valid points, and I'm hoping, looking at how she broke slowly and still was able to rally and win well at 6 furlongs last out, I'm hoping, maybe she even sits a little bit closer to the early pace this time around if she can break well out of the gate. But I do see what you're talking about. We don't have necessarily super speed in here, so I do think she'll need a slightly different trip breaking from the rail. Let's move over to the horses we're fading at a short price. So Darin, who is that for you?
Yeah, I'm going to stick at Belmont at Aqueduct in race number 8. It's a $40,000 optional claimer starter going 1 1/8 over the turf course. We have had some rain for the lion's share of this week, but it's supposed to dry out the rest of today into Saturday, so hopefully we're good for the turf. Freedom Trail's a fade for me at 9-5. These are horses that I just try to beat in spots like this. I mean, the horse has been an allowance runner. The horse has tried stakes races, has not won since October of 2022. So I'm not going to take 9-5 on a horse that hasn't won in over 2.5 years. Has only 2 starts since November of 2023. There's a ton of gaps in between the races. The horse is always dependent on pace and trip. And when you take a look at the rest of this field, it's 1 1/8. There's really not much speed in here either. And Freedom Trail is going to have to figure out a way into the race from pretty far back against some runners that are in better form, that are a bit better tactically as well. So I don't really have a strong opinion on who I like in the race, but I definitely don't like Freedom Trail at anything close to 9-5.
Yeah, that's the kind of horse I would fade too, off that very lengthy losing streak. Any thoughts on that, James?
No, I'll just go ahead and hit my fade. I'm going to turn to Churchill Downs, race number 3. It's going to be number 1, Sinister Smile, and this is a 3-year-old colt that is 0 for 5 coming in this race. In his last race, a maiden $50,000 claimer, which he dropped in first time in the maiden claiming ranks. Basically got up to be late to be second, a non-threatening second to Holster. Now that Holster came right back and won again in a claiming race last week. I think over the weekend, maybe last Friday, he was claimed out of that race. But believe me, Sinister Smile was never a threat to him. But he's going to get bet off the fact that Brad Cox, George Messina claimed this horse, and Brad Cox takes over the training of Sinister Smile and off the pace type. And the thing about it is that Cox is adding blinkers. Sinister Smile had run 5 times previously, by far his worst effort, where he ran 9th, beaten 8 lengths. In his other 4 races, he's run 2nd or 3rd every time. He's a clunk up 2nd or 3rd type. But when he added blinkers, he ran 9th. Never ran a step, didn't run well with blinkers. So I'm not seeing how the addition of blinkers is going to benefit him in this spot. I'm not playing him at a short price, stepping up from a maiden 50 claimer to a maiden 100 claimer. And there's a couple other runners in here that I really prefer over Sinister Smile. So I'm going to fade the probable favorite in race 4, number 1, Sinister Smile.
Yeah, I completely agree with this fade as well. There's other horses that I'm interested in. I think the first-time starter, Steel Venom, is interesting. Vacoma, 21% with his debuting runners. The horse has a very good-looking, steady workout pattern. I love the 36-4 move surrounded by the 5 furlong workouts. I definitely think that's a horse that could be ready to fire at first asking. I think Master Controller is interesting off the layoff for Brittany Vandenberg, off the speed fade angle, the cutback, getting Lasix for the first time. And I think that the 8 Vex is probably a horse that we haven't seen the best of off that debut effort as well. I think there's a lot of other options here. I wouldn't take Sinister Smile as a chalk either.
And you look at Brad Cox's stats, especially on Bristnet, he's 42% first off the claim, 20% blinkers back on. But it was a big headline that last week he was 0 for 6 at Churchill. It was really cold last week. So we'll see if he can turn that around this week. But right now his barn is not doing so well at his home track. So this might be another race where we see him not reach the winner's circle.
Hey, he could win several other races on this card as well, but one of them that I will be betting against is Sinister Smile.
Yeah, and that 42% first time off the claim, I mean, all that does is just drive the price down. So you need to make a determination where does the value lie. If you ask yourself, if this horse was not trained by Brad Cox first off the claim, would you play the horse here? And the answer is probably no. You try to beat him. So, and he'd be a bigger price. But so you're getting less value because he's going to Cox. And you're going to have to take, the shorter price in the process. It's not a winning proposition long-term for me.
Yep. I will take it to race 9 on this Saturday card at Churchill Downs. For my fade, it's number 2, Tar Nima at 3-1 in the Curtana Stakes. And this is a 4-year-old filly by trained by Brennan Walsh, who last won 6 starts back at Fairgrounds when breaking her maiden. And that was when she was trained by Brad Cox. This is going to be her 5th start since transferring to Brennan Walsh's barn. And she's sticking to a distance where she's 0 for 2. I will say last time when she raced at Keeneland, she did get bumped around the stretch, maybe would have won that day, which we're about to watch right here. Sugary ended up winning and is in this field. And Flavian Pratt is aboard on the 6. Sugary who ends up winning here, but you see the 4 get kind of shuffled around here in the stretch, couldn't find room. So if she had the room, I think probably could have gotten the win this day. But I'm looking at some others in the field who I think have a better chance in this stakes race at Churchill. And I think Boss Lady Bailey at 4-1, I think is a stronger choice. Was won by a nose and an allowance as a long shot at Keeneland against a tougher field during that spring meet. So I like the 7. I think the 4 is strong as well. And even the 3 at 8-1, I think has some value in this field. So I'll try to beat the 2 once again, even though you can make an excuse for that loss at Keeneland that we just watched.
Yeah, I don't like her at all either. And I looked at her, but maybe I'll risk having egg on my face. I don't think she's favored here. I mean, she's eligible for non-winners of one other than still. You've got horses in here that are proven commodities that have won second level allowances, third level allowances, have run well in stakes company before. She was beaten by Sugary, as you said, in that last start as well. Boss Lady Bailey is coming off a win in a second level allowance, going 1.5 miles. I mean, if she goes favored, okay, but I wouldn't take a horse that's eligible for non-winners of one other than in a stake like this. I agree with you. She's a complete fade for me. I'm just a little bit concerned that she's not going to go off as short as the morning line seems to indicate.
Yeah, and I do think Strikingly Spun, I mean, could be favored for Sharp and Jose Ortiz, but she will get bet off of that trouble trip. I'm not convinced she was going to beat the Sugaree that day, even if, the Paris Lane hadn't come in a little bit on her and forced her to squeeze there. But that trouble, and what Darin said too, I agree 100%. I mean, she's 1 for 7 against some more seasoned foes. So I'm against her in there as well. I think Strikingly Spun is the horse to beat. I'm going to mention this Holy Foley. This distance fits. The only issue I have is that she's 0 for 3 at Churchill.
Yeah, I looked at that. Did concern me, just the form over Churchill's track, but could improve third off the layoff here, picking up a new rider, so maybe that'll change things, but was just barely beaten by Boss Lady Bailey. But I still give slight upper hand to Boss Lady Bailey here. All right, before we move on to what else we're watching for this weekend, Darin, what promos and tournaments do we have?
Yeah, promo-wise, we've got boosts. If you like extra money on top of your winnings, well, then we got a good weekend for you. Friday at Churchill Downs, a 15% across the board boost. What that means is all of your winning wagers that are win wagers, place wagers, show wagers, or any combination of the three, they're going to receive a 15% boost on your winnings, which is essentially a takeout reducer. The average takeout rates is somewhere between 17, 18% on those wagers, and we're going to boost your winnings by 15%, which almost negates the takeout rate on those wagers. So it's a great promotion for some of our simplest wagers. Be sure to be opted in for that Friday. And then following suit on Saturday, we're going to even increase it a bit more. This is going to be just for win wagers, but we're going to pump it up to a 25% odds boost, which is about 7-8% more than the typical takeout rate on the win pool. So you're getting a takeout reducer and then some on Saturday at Churchill Downs. So be sure to opt in here. Your winning win wagers will get a 25% boost. So if the horse is 4-1, would typically pay $10, you're basically going to get back $12.50, and you turn the horse into a 5-1 shot. It's a pretty cool deal. Be sure to be opted into that. Tournament-wise, we got a big weekend of qualifiers. We will start with the new kid on the block, the Stephen Foster Betting Challenge, which had 88 players play in the qualifier last weekend. That's going to be on Saturday, May the 24th, and it is our Stephen Foster Betting Challenge qualifier, so be sure to be opted in on that and participating. It's going to take place at Churchill Downs. It's a $500 entry. And then for Monday, we have our BC qualifier. That's an $800 entry, and we will have guaranteeing one BC seat. Hopefully we get more. I think if we get to 30, it pumps up from there. But we've got feeders going on for that one as well throughout the rest of the week. So a couple of big tournaments with some big seats on the line this weekend, guys, at TwinSpires.
And I know we didn't mention it, but there's that Hong Kong boost too, because we got the Triple Crown on the line.
Yep.
I almost put it as my what else I'm watching for, but admittedly, I don't feel like an expert on Hong Kong racing, so I decided not to opt for that. But we do have potentially the second ever Triple Crown winner in Hong Kong's Triple Crown Series and a profit boost, I believe, that we have offering this week at TwinSpires as well. But James, I will move it over to you for what else you're watching for this weekend. So what is that?
Well, I just wanted to mention first off, I saw the news this week that Neil Pessin is retiring from training, and met Neil many years ago. Seen him at Churchill, Keeneland, Kentucky Downs, Fairgrounds, and he's just one of the classiest guys, a true gentleman, a terrific horseman who won more than 260 races. His trainees earned more than 12 million. Had grade one winning sprinter Bell's the One and other graded winners under his care. So wanted to give a shout out to Neil Pessin. I remember his dad, Dr. Arnold Pessin. He was one of the most noted veterinarians of the era, was instrumental in building the Kentucky Training Center and Kentucky Downs, which was at the time dueling grounds. And Neil, just a terrific gentleman and a great horseman. I wanted to wish him well in his next endeavor. Goscar was declared out of the Belmont. Right now, we only have like 6, it looks like, that are like considered probable. I know Pletcher mentioned that Grande and Crudo aren't out of the mix as well. We'll see if either one of those horses becomes more serious about it. But we still have the big 3 from the Derby. We got Sovereignty, Journalism, and Baeza, the top 3 finishers, all lining up for the Belmont at Saratoga. I got some friends that are from up in that region. They're season pass holders, and they're getting emails where the novelty might not be there. Tickets are discounted for some other days during that 4-day session. But that Saturday Belmont Stakes, if those 3 show up, it should be one. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for it. And before I get out, I wanted to mention a quick long shot I considered for my best bet. Number 9, Maxima, in the last race, race 10 at Churchill Downs. This horse ran a good race in debut at Tampa Bay Downs, set the pace, weakened to be 4th to the Chad Brown trained Lordship. He's going to improve upon it, Maxima is. Son of Authentic, half-brother to Met Mile winner Silver State. I don't know if I'll get 10-1, but I'll be betting Maxima in the finale on Saturday.
Got a bonus play from James. Darin, what are you watching for?
Yeah, as the Belmont Stakes field starts to potentially take shape, I was surprised and disappointed that Burnham Square is not in the race. I thought after watching the Kentucky Derby, he was a stone cold lock to run in the Belmont, and maybe if it was 1.5 miles, maybe they would. I don't know, but all we've heard them say about this horse for the last 4 months is as the races get longer, he's going to get better. And instead of running in the 1.25 mile Belmont, ththey've elected to run in 1.16 mile Matt Win. And I understand he races out of his own stall and there's other things to consider down the line. And maybe that's a stepping stone for something else, but you only get one opportunity to run an American Classic like the Belmont Stakes. And if you got a horse that you think can run all day, I certainly don't understand not running in it. And I think part of the issue, and we've seen it with the Triple Crown and the talks about the 2 weeks in between, the 3 weeks in between. I think an issue that's not talked about enough is the fact that there's just too many grade 1 races for 3-year-olds. And if it were up to me, I wouldn't make any race before the Kentucky Derby a grade 1. And I know people are not going to like that, but that's part of the reason why a horse like Burnham Square is not necessarily have to run in the Belmont Stakes. Granted, he's a gelding and it's a little bit different for him, but if you have a horse that's a colt who's already won a grade 1 on the road to the Derby, you don't necessarily feel compelled to run in the Belmont Stakes if you can find what looks to be a softer spot. And I think if you take away some of the grade 1s prior to the Derby, and the grade 1s are limited to the Triple Crown and races like the Haskell and the Travers and Pennsylvania Derby, the races become at a far larger premium than they are right now potentially. And maybe we see some more horses taking shots in the Preakness and in the Belmont Stakes. I think if the Preakness showed you anything, it's that when horses are in good form, they can absolutely run back in 2 weeks successfully. I think that it is a complete misnomer that does any type of long-term damage or, it decreases their prospects to the horse. Journalism got bounced around like a bumper car and still won the race. The horse that ran 3rd, Sandman, ran 2 weeks ago. The horse that ran 4th ran 2 weeks ago. So there's absolutely nothing about the 2-week turnaround. And if anything, what the Derby to Preakness has shown us historically is that if you run well in the Derby and you got a horse that's in good form, he's more likely than not to keep that form for the next 2 weeks than he is to regress off of it. So I think that this has all gotten pretty much out of hand at this point. I think people are overthinking things with the Preakness and the Belmont. And I think if trainers just trusted the fact that these horses are what they are, when they're good horses, that when they get good, they typically stay good for a while, that, we can alleviate some of these questions about the 2 weeks and so on and so forth. And I love it. The fact that we'll have the top 3 from the Derby and the Belmont potentially, and the Derby versus Preakness winner, it's great. But people need to start taking a little bit more of shots at these races, because I think their horses might surprise them a little bit.
Yeah, I agree
like
about
that.
Burnham Square. I thought Burnham Square had the most trouble of anybody in the Derby. I thought he got stopped, checked once, and stopped, just cold, stopped early on the far turn. And then he never got a chance to get out. He got all bumped around, and that was a rough trip. He finished a really sneaky 6th and was eligible to improve upon it. And I would have liked to see him in the Belmont. Even Final Gambit is now England, it sounds like, for the Matt win. I didn't understand that as well. I mean, he was 4th, and he was a rallying 4th in his first start race. I think that the Belmont is like the next logical spot for, horses like that.
I think it's a good take. I knew that you were going to talk about fixing the Triple Crown, and I feel like we have that conversation quite a bit lately. And I did not expect the grade 1 angle. I like that idea. I don't know how we implement it, but I think it's a fresh take and one that makes a lot of sense.
It's one of those ideas that will never happen, because people with a lot of money, with vested interests in horses becoming stallions, want more grade 1 races, but it is at the detriment of a Triple Crown series. And you can make the argument, and that the Breeders' Cup was at the detriment of a race like the Jockey Club Gold Cup. The Jockey Club Gold Cup used to be the greatest race in the country for older horses every year. And as we've gone through the year and there's more and more grade 1 races, and the Breeders' Cup becomes a thing, and we add in races like the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, it's only so many races that you could have before things start to get diluted a bit. And there's going to be races that pay the price for that. And, the Jockey Club Gold Cup is one of those races. It's not what it was. It's certainly not what it used to be way back when. And the Triple Crown series is starting to become diluted, I think, for the same reason. Why run back in the Belmont when I could put my horse on the path to the Pennsylvania Derby and run for $1 million against 3-year-olds in September? It's a legitimate issue.
Well, I will take it down to a grade 3. That makes you feel better, and talk about the winning colors on Memorial Day. And we do have a lot of good stakes action on Memorial Day. Santa Anita has 3 graded stakes as well, 2 grade 1s and a grade 2. But wanted to talk about Churchill Downs, and we will be on site. Some of us at TwinSpires doing on-site coverage, some light on-site coverage for Memorial Day. But we got a really good field, I thought, for the winning colors. You have Brightwork coming off a lengthy layoff, a multiple graded stakes winner. 2 Sharp, probably the morning line favorite, who is coming off a 6-month layoff as well, was the winner of the grade 3 Chaluki last out. That was last fall, racing at a mile and now cutting back. But you also have Hope Road, who was runner-up in the Derby City Distaff, ran a really good race that day, and that was at 7 furlongs, so cutting back to 6 here. And I think we'll see Hope Road and 2 Sharp go to the front, maybe Brightwork pushing that pace as well. I do wonder if we could see an upset with an off-the-pace runner like Harbor Springs. We also have Minx Palace, who's stepping up in class after winning the Rock Solana on opening night. But I thought it was a really interesting, contentious field, and I don't think it's clear-cut who will win this, especially with some of those layoffs that we have with Brightwork and 2 Sharp. So very exciting race that we'll get to see on Memorial Day, and should be, I think, pretty good weather that day too. So always good to have a nice Memorial Day. Weather.
It's a dynamite field. All those fillies, Brightwork, Hope Road. Hope Road exits a really good second to the best filly sprinter in America right now, Copian, and 2 Sharp. 2 Sharp looked like a grade 1 winner in the making to me last fall, winning that Chaluki. So I think all 3 of those runners have serious aspirations for the Filly and Mare Sprint. And there's some other runners in there as well that could step up.
Yeah, I think the winning colors, if it keeps putting fields like this together, could see an upgrade to their graded status, because this is not a grade 3 race. Zeitlos came out, who Brightwork lost to last time, also came out to win last weekend down at Pimlico. And Hope Road, like you talked about, not only lost to Copian last time, but has lost to Copian 3 consecutive races. And when you take those 3 races out of the equation, she has a 4-race win streak. And like you talked about, 2 Sharp looks like she could be a potentially freakish filly as well. This is a fun race. It's the best horses have the most speed. This is one of those, as my mentor, the late great Sam McKee, would say, strap in, because it's going to get a little bit better.
It's going to be fun to watch. We will be there on site doing post-race interviews for this race as well. And you can check all that out on our TwinSpires social channels. We will be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades, and happy Memorial Day weekend.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.